inclusive every day of the week. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of InView TV. Through the eyes of, through the eyes of, through the eyes of InView TV.
Hello, welcome to Down the Track on InView TV. My name is Bruce Mott, I'm the host of the show, and tonight we've got another great show lined up for you. InView TV and Down the Track's all about races, whether it's drivers, whether it's riders, whether it's admin people, whether it's sponsors, whether all across the board. It could even be the volunteer that's helping out the track. And tonight we've got an administrator. It's one of the big administrators in the sport. They're a governing body, sanctioning body for the sport, and they're very important to the running of the sport. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on IHRA Australia CEO Maurice Allen.
The drag racing is a sport that pretty much grabs all your senses. It's the only sport that you can go to where you literally feel it all the way from your feet all the way up through to your nostrils and your ears. The passion for me is something that's evolved over 25 years. When I first started racing these motorcycles, they were running the quarter mile in 9 seconds. We're knocking on the doorstep of 6 seconds, which is the last milestone for a pro stock motorcycle. And you know, to me, it's everything. I'm realising my dream. We're trying to set records. We're trying to break down barriers, and I'm doing it with my best friend in the world, and that's my dad. And I mean, it's a fortunate position that I am in. That we travel the country doing this together, and we're sharing a lot of family history, and we're creating history, which is important. The heart's pumping at 180 beats per minute. The sweat's starting to pour off your eyebrows. You're holding your breath. It's that little spell of silence for a moment, but you have some clarity in your head when it all makes sense as to why you spent all the hours doing this.
Well, here comes Maurice Allen. What can he run here? Both bikes leave hard this time. Oh, it looks like Maurice Allen's got the goods. Radnot's going with him. Here comes Allen, 7:31. Playback Raceway, big crowd in. Massive whole shot mark.
Maurice Allen's got a 10th on the tree. Upset, since an upset, Maurice Allen gets the win. He keeps his championship hopes alive.
7:33 beats the 7:26 because of quicker start line reactions from Maurice Allen. Look at him glued together down the track on the onboard. Brings it up on the revs, and he's gone too soon. Worcester brought it up on the revs very early, backed off, left too soon, red lights. Maurice Allen's the champion.
He has done the impossible, the miracle. Maurice Allen, pro bike champion.
Up around 400 horsepower. Allen gets out particularly quick. Got this one under control, gets across the line, 7:27, 296 kilometres an hour. Hey, but Mark, he's going pretty deep and still fast.
That bike is not slowing down at all here for Maurice Allen. He might be taking a trip into the sand trap. He has.
What a way for your first race back.
Oh no! It's going to be a pedal fest, is it? Who's going to grab a gear? Who's going to do this? He's got to try and find a gear. Someone is going to have to move to the end here. Crack the whip. Who's going to do it?
Maurice Allen still has noise. He's tried to get it into gear, but a massive zing.
Give us some encouragement.
Ryan Limhoff is running.
Who's going to do this?
He's running.
Chase him.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite literally a Flintstones extravaganza.
Go for it. Limhoff is going to get into half track here.
Maurice Allen is in the lead. We're talking about a 40-metre lead. Ryan Limhoff is not giving up.
I'm glad Mo didn't have that extra serve for dinner tonight. He's going to have to push. He's on the sticky stuff.
The engine has died on Maurice Allen's. He's killed it. Either that or it's run out of fuel.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm about to as well.
Maurice Allen for Milwaukee. He's about to hit the finish line beam. Now for the most epic 65-second pass you've ever seen in your life. Ridiculous.
Maurice Allen, you've joined us too, Managing Director of the IHRA and also the owner of the dubious record, the slowest bike pass in the history of two wheels. How does it feel to hold both of those titles, both quick and slow at the same time?
Thanks, Jared. It's great to be here. It's something that I guess as a drag racer, it's probably not the way you want to be remembered, but I guess that's the way history will play out. So, look, it's up there on YouTube, I think, with about 9 million hits so far, and if I remember correctly, I think I even outran you.
Yes, you did, and you were pushing a good 200 kilos worth of bike too.
Maurice Allen, welcome to Down the Track. How are you? Maurice, are you there? Looks like we might have lost Maurice. All right, that's a bit difficult. I'm going to have to... Oh, here's Maurice. Are you there? Hi Maurice, not sure if you can hear me. Can't hear you, unfortunately. So Maurice, yeah, we've got technical difficulties here. If you can hear me, can you hit your refresh button on your browser, and hopefully they'll bring it back to us. Can you give that a try for me? Sorry about this, viewers. Technical problems with internet. We can do everything we possibly can, but sometimes we just get a little bit let down by, especially this time of night with broadband and everybody's using it. So Maurice, are you back with us now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bruce. Can you hear me?
Can hear you brilliantly. Thank you. A little bit of technical difficulty, but you're with us. Thanks very much. So I guess those highlights brings back some memories, good and bad, but they're all it's drag racing, and I'm sure that at the end of the day it's really all good memories, because everything you do is with fun, it's with love, you're with your families, with your friends, and I'm sure you're really enjoying it, even the wins and the losses. But anyway, Maurice, tell us about the fans tonight, a bit more about you. So before we get into your racing, just about you, the family man. Tell us about Maurice Allen.
Yeah, look, Bruce, I have boys. They are 9, 11 and just about 18, and I moved before COVID up to Queensland, and it was meant to be a temporary move, but it ended up being a full-time move just based on a number of factors, but more importantly, just with work. It made sense to be, I guess, in southeast Queensland, which put me closer to New South Wales and not too far from up north, where we've recently signed track. So for me, it's about getting some quality downtime. This is an extremely intense role, which comes with a lot of hours and a lot of time away from the family. So when you do get some downtime, to be able to spend it in the ocean, out in the waters, certainly something to be cherished here, that's for sure. It's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've lived, well, not in the Sunshine Coast where you are, but the Gold Coast and other parts of Queensland, and it's certainly a great part of the world. So that's you on the family side. You wear a couple of hats. You're a pro bike racer. You're the CEO of IHRA Australia. So let's talk about that. What does that role entail? And given that with the impact of COVID, I guess there's, I'm going to say downtime I guess in racing, but probably not what you were doing over the last 12 months. So tell us about your role and then what IHR Australia has been doing over the last 12 months.
Yeah, certainly, Bruce. Look, my role has evolved over 5 years, 6 years, and to the point now where it does take me away from sometimes part of the day-to-day runnings, just because I'm looking at the bigger picture for the sport. What's available, looking at real estate in the country, looking at new facilities, and trying to plan for what's coming, particularly in a changing world and a changing environment. So as a motorsport, we very much have to fit in, and we have to play our part in the landscape of Australian motorsport. We have to factor in areas such as environmental friendly issues, things like our footprint. All those things become important when you're dealing with government agencies and you're talking about or applying for assistance financially to build new facilities. These are all key areas that, for me, it's about engaging with local councils, government agencies, looking at worldwide global trends, whether it's fuel-based, whether it's a new technology, whether it's a new material that's available. We have to keep our eyes and ears open to all possibilities that really the sport can use to drive itself forward into the future and remain sustainable in Australia.
You mentioned the government factor, and yes, there must be so much to consider. There's one thing about saying, okay, a governing body writes rules for races and safety procedures and all that sort of thing. But if you're talking about then expanding by building tracks or sanctioning tracks, yes, there must be so much that goes into that, and such a big political government football, if you like. You mentioned impact studies and environmental studies and everything you must go through, just to get a track up and running. I can imagine you become less of a drag racing person and more of a politician, government type person to get those sorts of things through. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, look, absolutely, Bruce. When you take the depth of a feasibility study and what it entails, it would scare a lot of people away. Just short of that, because a drag racing facility is quite unique in that it can be built remotely, but as we know, noise travels, and if ever there's a pressure on the sport at the moment, it's to ensure that we build our facilities in areas that are certainly not prone to development, build up residential or even industrial commercial areas, because inevitably that's what chokes us and our facilities. So it's learning to understand these tests that are important to get some of these projects over the line. It's an immense task to sit back and ensure that you dot the I's and cross the T's, because it's all good and well saying that, look, we've got 200 acres of fresh land here that's flat. It runs the right direction to be perfect for a drag strip. However, there's so many other factors to consider in that, in just trying to get the certain approvals required and over the line. It's immense.
And there's, as you say, there's so many I's to dot, T's to cross. You can't possibly be doing this on your own, surely. You need some sort of support in this. So is the IHRA Australia a team of people, or is it just yourself, or what is that?
No, look, we have a team of people. We also have expert service providers. We have a great legal team. We use a company in Melbourne called Callis Kenny Intellects, who are fantastic. They help us out legally and with certain projects. I have Kevin Prendergast, who is on our board, plays an integral role, who's an extremely incredible administrator in the sport of drag racing and certainly needs no introduction. Kevin is a force to be reckoned with, and somebody that I certainly bounce a lot of issues off with Kevin, and we talk about a lot of things. We have Tim Nielsen in Sydney, who's our National Technical Director. We have Melanie in the office in Melbourne that takes care of licensing and administration issues. And then, I guess you could say we subcontract certain agencies to go out and help with some of that governance and some of that, the integral writing of certain, parts of these applications that are required. And whilst we do leave some of that to, the track proprietors or the management team or the project team, we certainly come underneath with the design, the facility overlay and outlay, and requirements that we need for drag racing to be successful at that facility, i.e. safety, things like our new mandated dual net system, electromotion. We're looking at some, incredibly new innovations in some of these new racetrack designs coming up over the next 3 to 5 years. And, it's an exciting thing for the sport to be able to incorporate integral technology and give back to spectators and racers and crew and volunteers that all dedicate so much time to the sport. We want to enhance their experience at a race event, and I think that's what's exciting for drag racing.
Absolutely. Viewers out there, if you've got any questions for Maurice, just send them on Facebook now. We'll bring them up the screen shortly and Maurice can answer them for you. IHRA globally, how much do they support the IHRA Australia arm? I mean, how much contact is that a constant thing? There is the global body that you're in touch with constantly working through things. How does that work?
Yeah, look, certainly, Bruce, they're there if required. There's no doubt about that. I guess COVID has really put a dampener on some of that stuff, particularly where, comparing some notes with events and technical type aspects of the sport. At the moment, we tend to, we're a bit of a supercell, being, an island as big as we are. Whilst the sport has some similarities, in some respects, we are a completely different entity in terms of products and classes and eliminators. So, we tend to control what we do here, but certainly the support's there if and required. And they provide all the the office, the staff, and the infrastructure for us to travel around and administer the sport effectively.
So before I get into where you want to see the sport in Australia for the next 2 and 5 years, IHRA globally, do they have a goal of where they want to see the sport from their perspective in the next couple of years?
Look, Bruce. That's a great question. I've asked, I've asked that a couple of times of the CEO in the US. They run a different philosophy at the moment, given that they dropped pro categories a couple of years ago and decided to focus on.
Oh, Maurice, he's back. Hang on, Maurice. Not sure if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Maurice. Sorry, unfortunately. Can you maybe hit refresh on your screen, Maurice, because you've dropped off. Sorry again, folks. The battles are with internet technology. Maurice, got you again. Sorry about that, buddy.
How's that?
Yep, much better.
Sorry.
Internet, can't help with that. Yeah, so you were just finishing off. Globally, they've got goals, but they dropped their pro category. So obviously, Australia is IHR Australia has a little bit of a different focus because they do have the pro category, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, typically, Bruce, that does set us apart. So we have to, in some instances, go it alone. We tackle some of our pro categories. When safety, we generally look at worldwide trends, and we look to bring in experts in certain areas of industry to help with shaping rules and compliance and governance issues around safety effectively.
Sure. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to see any on Facebook. Yeah, we've got a couple of people who's got a question here. I'm going to put this up for you. That's from D Field. Your thoughts on Victoria drag racing? Now that you've left Victoria, by the way.
Well, funnily enough, Bruce, I was only down there last week. I spent a couple of days with Lance and the team at Heathcote Park Raceway. And I've got to say, like, the internet's exploded with articles and stories from Lance Warren at Heathcote Park Raceway. He's become a dynamo. And for us at IHRA Australia, we're extremely excited about the prospects of Lance and what he's going to create with his vision and his passion, and his dedication towards restoring that facility is nothing short of amazing. And I'm really impressed. Lance has a really professional outlook. He's got a great team. And, after spending a few days with him last week, I'm back down there again next week. And we're looking at obviously the plans for the upgrades and what he needs to do to get them right straight off the bat. But I can tell you that Victorian drag racing is about to explode with excitement, and we're all really pleased for Lance, and we're all really pleased to have him on board as part of the IHRA family as well moving forward.
Certainly what I've seen is how much has been achieved in such a short period of time. And I say that from an outsider point of view. I'm sure the planning and the work's been going on for weeks, months and years. But from the outside, it looks like, wow, there's such has been achieved in a short period of time. Even the crowds that attended, was it last week or the week before? Certainly it seems to be an amazing thing, and there seems to be the Victorian drag racing community is just right behind it, and there seems to be a what's the word I'm looking for? The momentum is just incredible. Yeah, really great to see.
Yeah, and when you consider that historically Victoria, has been the heartland of drag racing for many, many years, it's a shame that it has gone without for such a long period of time. And, there's a generation or two that have effectively missed out on championship drag racing in Victoria. And you have a look at the caliber of businesses and workshops and, other associated businesses in the drag racing or the motorsport industry. And while they're in for a huge influx of work already, and engine builders, chassis builders, spray painters, vinyl wrappers, everybody's flat out again because the excitement is a buzz of what's happening at Heathcote.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep, it just generates more and more, doesn't it? All right, to finish off, Maurice, your visions of the sport in the next 2 years and then the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. Look. Part of, I guess, the vision that I had was to help grow the sport, both in terms of awareness from the outside looking in, given that we compete so hard against ball sports, for example. We're right down the list when it comes to things like funding for women in motorsport. So I've been trying to make a difference through some of the departments of sport and recreation in each state. We've just signed on to some new and exciting opportunities, particularly in New South Wales, with what's called the Duke of Edinburgh medal. And what it is, it's an opportunity for kids between the age of 14 and 18 to volunteer in an area that interests them. And so we've put our hand up as a sport collectively and said we'd love to be able to offer opportunities to kids to come and learn about the back end of the sport, whether it's from an official's perspective, whether it's track management, administration, TV production. So it's exciting because what I'm trying to do is create opportunity for young people to come in and help boost the profile of the sport, bring some young blood into the sport to help the sport flourish, for generations to come. And that's just one area. Another one is, promoting the fact that we do have a lot of women, particularly in drag racing, and a lot of funding does get thrown around the communities, particularly for ball sports and female sports. And, we've put some applications in around the place to try and help see if we can't create some to promote women in motorsport, because as we know, the success of women in motorsport, particularly in drag racing, is immense, and they carry such an integral part in the sport that it's about time they were recognised as well for their, credit where credit's due for their input and effort into drag racing and making drag racing great. So there's a couple of areas, Bruce, that are key issues that are fairly easy enough to tackle and tick off. But I think that part of the challenges we face is looking at certain categories moving forward. The advent of electric vehicles, there's no doubt that that's on the precipice of becoming something greater. We certainly need to embrace a culture around providing a space and an opportunity for electric vehicles to come and compete in drag racing. We're looking at, for example, Junior Dragster, opportunities there that will also present commercial advantages to the sport, whilst a lot of people will possibly find the thought of electric vehicles in drag racing somewhat maybe boring, perhaps. I think that there's ways to turn that around and create something that brings a bonus or brings something extra to the sport of drag racing as a new product. we part of a recent thought process behind growing the sport was our new class called Real Street. And to me, that's something that we've been working on for about 6 to 8 months to develop an opportunity for late model OEM ADR compliant style vehicles that really were close to that 10.00 benchmark, where if they ran quicker, they needed to leave the facility, fit a roll cage, go away and spend some money and then come back to compete. And of course, with the modern day sports car, particularly some of the European products that are available, it wasn't hard for them to be knocking on that lower limit. And we were cutting the sport because we were sending these away. And we've only got to look at the features in some of these vehicles that are available now to suggest that these cars are extremely safe, and at the speeds that I guess on a drag strip that they're capable of getting up to, is certainly well within the safety parameters of how the car was built and how it was designed to run. So
Sure.
It's been a really exciting prospect for us because we see Real Street doubling, potentially tripling our membership numbers over the next 3 to 5 years, and with a real to try and get manufacturers back involved in the sport of drag racing, where that old mantra of win races Sunday, cars on Monday.
Sell them on Monday, yeah.
And you know, the reality is that the sport of drag racing was never in a better position when it had automotive manufacturers involved in the sport. We lost obviously tobacco sponsorship, but we used to have the support of quite a lot of the manufacturers. And whilst they're all going through a challenging time, we need to be ready and present to accept them when they're back on their feet and up and running again, to say, look, come and play. We're ready to go. We have several opportunities, and you know, part of that also is moving into other products like potentially the Copo deal, which exists in the US. I mean, we've been looking for a long period of time. The cost of a Copo vehicle. Yeah, look, it's basically a production race car that Ford, GM, and Mopar have in the US that you can buy off the showroom floor, and it's a drag race spec vehicle.
Oh yes, I have heard about this.
They're a low 9-second vehicle, 150 mile an hour car. Yeah, they're exciting to watch. You know, they leave the start line wheels up, sort of.
Look, Maurice, we do have to.
Style, I guess, but they're expensive to bring in, Bruce. So we understand that's a challenge given the dollar, but we need to be able to look at certain classes.
Yeah. Look, Maurice, we have to leave it there. We're running out of time. One thing you did touch on, which really intrigued me, was obviously the electric vehicles. For my basic view on it, is street racing. Street cars racing on the drag racing with Race for Real here in Sydney. What they do at the Motorplex, what they do at Willowbank. But basically, you're racing on the track during the week. That sort of thing. Electric vehicles versus petrol and combustion vehicles, it's a no-brainer. When it comes to a true drag racing vehicle, though, and we think about Top Fuel, for instance, and it's about the noise, it's about the flames, it's about all that. And then with electric vehicle, of course, that all goes away. The car could eventually just be as quick as a Top Fuel car one day, but all the everything else is not there, the sound and the thunder and the vibration through the body. So it'd be interesting to see how that all develops going forward. And to today's younger generation, they might be quite happy just to see the speed. They don't want all that noise and everything else to go. But let's see what where all that comes from and where it goes to. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a new world when the electric vehicles become more and more involved. So, Maurice, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you to be on the show. IHR Australia is doing some great work. Obviously, you're doing some brilliant work personally. You're loving living in Queensland right now. Next 400 Thunder event, at least for the pro categories at least, is March or April at Willowbank. So hopefully I'll catch up with you then, and look forward to the other 2 events after that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. Those 400 Thunder events can't come quick enough for the sport of drag racing, that's for sure.
I bet. Great. Thanks a lot, Maurice. Appreciate you having me on the show, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Okay,
so there's Maurice Allen, the IHRA Australia CEO. He's got some great insights into sport. Love what his passion for it is. We didn't talk much about it today. We didn't have much time about his racing personally, because I guess we focused on the sport more in general. But thanks again for joining. We'll have some more great guests coming up shortly. Our next show will be next Thursday. Apologies that we didn't have John Zappi on last week. Some problems there, but he'll be on soon. So thanks again for joining Down the Track on InView TV, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
It's all about